of organizing before and recognize that there's limits to doing things within our existing government structures. There's limits to doing things within electoral politics and within Congress. But nevertheless, it's an important point right now, especially during this COVID crisis, where they are very directly negotiating the immediate relief that us as music workers and all Americans are receiving right now. And they're getting pressure from everywhere. So the future and our immediate present is very much up for grabs right now. And so us driving hundreds of calls, which we have now verification that we've already driven over 400 calls today, and that's going to keep growing because we're going to keep making these calls through the rest of today and into tomorrow until this bill finally comes together. Us doing that does have a significant impact. So when you call that number, you're going to be connected to Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and then Democratic leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer. So these are the heads of the Democrats in those two parts of Congress. So they have an enormous amount of power to decide what the priorities are going to be in that bill. That's going to be the COVID relief bill. So directing 400 calls to these people is going to make an impact because we're going to let them know that, yes, we need this unemployment. Yes, we need that expanded NEA funding. Yes, we need rent and mortgage cancellations. We're getting this stuff onto the House and Senate leadership desk and make it into their priorities list. Because if they don't hear from us, our stuff is going to be the first things that they cut. Okay, so besides looking to the leadership, we are also directing calls to what's called the Congressional Arts Caucus. So these are people in Congress who are theoretically supposed to be representing us as arts workers. Tellingly, most of us have probably never even heard of the Congressional Arts Caucus or really know much about it. There's a lot of people in Congress in this Arts Caucus, but the two heads of it are Representative Pingree from Maine, is a Democrat from Maine, and then Representative Stefanik from New York, who is a Republican. So when things come up in Congress and they want to supposedly hear from artists, these are the people who are supposed to be speaking for us. So that's why we're directing calls to them too, because we want to be able to say like, hey, you're speaking to us, but you're not actually even talking to us. So we need to get our seat at the table at this Arts Caucus to be able to push our agenda so that it's not just serving the corporate parts of the arts world. So that's who we're directing these calls to. Within UMAW, it's not just going to be about Congress, right? We're going to be making economic demands. We're going to be directing this energy in all sorts of directions. This is just this action. We're going for Congress, but it's super important we do reach Congress right now. So please keep calling to that number, and you're going to be redirected to those representatives. So that's my piece about where the calls are going. We're going to move it now into a section where we're talking about some of the other campaigns that UMAW is beginning to work on, so you all can hear it at home and maybe give some input about what you're excited about.
I think that's me to start off with, or it can be, and I'll take a break from eating pizza here in our green room. I just had to post because YouTube is down. So thank you for everyone for bearing with us as we migrate to Instagram Live. I'm just going to speak on behalf of a couple of the subcommittees. There are a number of them operating so far, with about 30 of us working and having smaller group meetings to discuss what our future campaigns will look like beyond just directing you all to call the US government. I know everyone's favorite Thursday activity. I will say it took me about 5 minutes all in to make 3 calls, which is really not too bad. So I even got some friends who really hate to do things like that to make these calls today. So thank you everyone who's been doing it. I heard we got directed like 400 calls, which is apparently quite a lot considering most of the outreaches on social media. Anyway, some of the subcommittees I'm involved in, one of them is regarding venue relations. Safer Spaces work has been really important to me over the past 5 years with developing a call hotline that people can use to reach my band on tour if something happens that they feel is unsafe while they're in the audience. We've also distributed bystander intervention sheets so that people are able to sort of acquire that knowledge at shows, as well as distributing a book called Making Spaces Safer that Shauna Potter authored, and we give that out to promoters and venues on tour. But what we're working on in the subcommittee is how to make a resource kit so that venues can take on that work, and it's not something that musicians have to shoulder to make their events safer for fans and for performers. So that's one of the subcommittees we're working on. There's a bunch of things that we're working on within that, some of which is perhaps a certification that venues could pass, so that bands can pass along to booking agents. We'd prefer to play here on tour. It's all ages. We'd prefer to play here on tour. There are accessible gender neutral bathrooms. In fact, every part of this venue is accessible, so we'd prefer to play here. So that's one subcommittee. Another that I'm involved with is about label transparency. So similarly, we're working on a way to sort of audit labels so that we can be aware of what their deals look like, what kind of financial transparency and statements they deliver, and how timely are they with delivering those statements. What kind of workers are employed at the venue, or sorry, too many committees at once. What kind of workers are at the label? What do their deals look like? Are they trying to own your records, or are they trying to license them? So one part of sort of label relations would be looking at labels and sort of vetting them. Another part would be, where do artists need help in negotiating their own label deals? What should you be looking for in signing a deal? Does it make sense to sign away your master rights for a $1,500 advance with an option? Absolutely not. But people don't know that if they don't think to ask. And some of us are so unaccustomed to talking about what our deals look like and what our money looks like that that information isn't readily accessible. So what we're working on there is trying to figure out where we can be of service to artists in negotiating deals, and making sure that deals represent artists fairly. Beyond that, I'm helping out with some of the press, which I don't know if Joey wants to jump back in on, but we're trying to make sure that when people speak on behalf of UMAW, it's representative of how diverse we all are in terms of demographics and also our interests, since there are so many subcommittees. So we've been working on sort of transparently diverting those requests to people across the organizing committee, and hopefully new members when we get there. Anything else I'm missing? Thumbs up. So Joey, thumbs up. Thank you. Who should I pass the mic to? I don't know. I could continue to eat pizza here unless someone wants to jump in.
I can jump in.
Thanks, Izzy.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So, hi, my name is Izzy True. My pronouns are they, them. Hold on a sec. One, can you go to the other room? Sorry. Anyway, yeah, I am working on a couple of the committees, the streaming committee, which I think John's going to talk about in a second, and also the Undocu fund. So we are raising money for undocumented workers of all kinds at this this point in time. That's kind of like our next move, or one of our next moves. Obviously, people who are not legally protected by the US government are not going to get benefits through the US government, but they still live here and they still work here, and they have every right to state money to be healthy. So one of the things that I'm the most excited about with this particular I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. The idea of a musicians union has been something I've been thinking about for a long time, and it never seemed possible because so many of the issues are spread so broadly across so many different sectors of our lives, which is true of any kind of problem within capitalism. But without going too much into that, it's really important to me that this group be focused on people like looking towards the broader spectrum of workers. So yeah, so we're going to be raising funds for undocumented workers, hopefully specifically undocumented musicians. We have a foundation in mind. We haven't gotten everything quite together yet, but that's definitely going to be one of our next initiatives. I guess I'll pass it off to you, John.
Sounds good. Thank you, Izzy. Thanks, Joe, for playing. Thanks, everyone, for speaking. Ananga, that was awesome. So my name is John Siebels. I play in the band Eve 6, and I am on the Streaming and Royalties Committee. So we've been talking about a lot of different things in this committee, but sort of the first thing we've been focusing on is just streaming in general, and we've been talking about sort of short-term goals and long-term goals, but I guess the short-term goal would be what we're calling the bigger crumb demand, which would be raising the streaming rates to something that would be universal across the board, that everyone would pay, that would be a little bit better than what it is now. I mean, we're not going to fix this overnight. Long term, you know, we're thinking of ideas to completely democratize streaming and let artists and musicians actually reap the full benefits of their work. But we've been talking about a few other things. There's a new mechanical royalty committee called the MLC that's going to be starting next year. So it's a very confusing thing. So we're working on education, putting pressure on the MLC to actually pay these mechanical royalties to independent songwriters and publishers, so that they don't just collect this money and disperse it amongst major publishers. But yeah, so I guess, you know, since YouTube is down, I'll just say, YouTube, we're coming after you too. Instagram, we're coming after you. And yeah, I think just the idea of all of us as artists and songwriters getting together and standing together to put pressure on these companies to, you know, pay us what we're worth, and try to make a change. I think, you know, we're stronger together always, and that's why I got involved in this. I'd like to thank everyone who's been a part of it, encourage everyone to join, remind everyone to make calls, I guess the rest of today and tomorrow, 813-213-3989. Get on that dialer. And yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that. Thank you, everyone. Who's up next?
I don't know, maybe me or Karna?
Thank you so much. Karna's up next, you all. We are, I'm just filming the computer screen because all of YouTube went down. So that was John from Eve 6, Sadie from Sad 13 and Speedy Ortiz, Izzy from Izzy True, Joey from La Neve and Downtown Boys, Josephine from Coin Orgasm, Anongo from Samus. Thank you so much for dealing with this janky setup. We really appreciate it. And ask any questions in the comment box.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Karna. First off, we just want to say that we're so excited to have everybody here with us. This is our first big meeting that we're opening up to people outside of just the organizing committee. And it's really exciting to see people show up, both to advocate for these really essential demands for music workers, but also just to hang out and celebrate. Honestly, part of making music that I miss a lot is hanging out with all my friends that are also music workers. And it's really good to hang out, and this is really like a quarantine treat for me to see all y'all. And we called this meeting because we want more of you to be involved. Obviously, with the call-in number, that was a really successful thing. We got 400 people to dial in calls to members of Congress, which is pretty incredible. But I want to give you a quick idea of how big this movement has grown in such a short amount of time. So far, over 750 music workers have signed on to the UMAW list of demands. And of those, 250 of y'all have indicated that you want to get involved immediately. And that's a lot of people. That's incredible. The organizational committee as it stands is about 20 folks. So far, the people that were in charge of launching the union were also involved with the planning of it. end this day of action. And as a group, we've put a lot of time and energy into these first two kind of big campaigns. But now we kind of realize that it's time to do the necessary housekeeping to incorporate all of y'all that are interested in joining and having more responsibility towards the union into the movement and into our work. We're still in very, very early phases of making these important considerations of how we actually want to build out the structures of our union. But we're really excited to kind of incorporate everybody's talents, smarts, and wisdom into UMAW. And to that end, I want to talk about a few of the basic guiding principles that we've been working with so far in just organizing these two campaigns and also working within the subcommittees. And hopefully, I mean, not hopefully, we will definitely integrate those into the larger structure as we move forward. Transparency. Decisions will be made in the open and by vote, no smoky rooms, no backroom deals. We document everything. We make all of that documentation visible. We want this to be a democracy. The union's goals should be a reflection of the needs and interests of its members. The organizational committee is responsible for executing those needs and interests. We want flatness. Members have equal footing and say in participating in the union. We will avoid like a plague all harmful hierarchical power dynamics. We just do not need them. And finally, diversity. We need to be the voice of the people and not just some people. To that end, we are committed to incorporating as many perspectives as possible when making decisions and developing campaigns. That is really, really important to us. Everybody in this meeting, I think, was reached out to directly by someone in the organizational committee. And as much as we seem like we're like a capital O organization or capital U union, we're just a bunch of people that you can reach out to directly. And we want that. Obviously, we need to build out our organizational structures carefully to ensure that we like the longevity and the effectiveness of the union. And we're getting to work on that. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, please, please, please reach out to us. We are more than happy to field questions. And you'll hear more details from us soon about how to get more involved with UMAW. And call that number, 813-213-3989. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much, Karna. This is the phone number once more. Okay, I guess it won't be okay. Thank you so much to Karna for speaking about all of the interest in UMAW. We are going to be having some questions up next. So Anungo and Joey are going to be answering some questions fielded by the comments here and from before we crashed YouTube. Can you all hear me okay? The speakers?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. Okay, so the first question is, how exactly does COVID relate to musicians as workers? And how do musicians think about, sorry, I wrote it down, as music workers as also representing groups from different communities? Manongo, her beginning speech actually had a lot on this, so I thought she could answer the question.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are some direct relationships that we can see as musicians that immediately emerged as soon as quarantine kind of came into effect. The first is that countless musicians, because of our relationship to our work and not having a single employer, we don't have access to healthcare. So many of us are living in precarious positions, even those who are successful by various kind of measures of success in the music industry, as in they have visibility, they're well known, they're able to tour across the globe, can still be living in quite a precarious position because we have this asinine system in which your healthcare is linked to your employer. And so for those of us who have gigs in a variety of different ways, we take on, you know, voiceover work. Some of us, or most of us, have second gigs that we're doing in order to be able to support our work as musicians. That means that healthcare is often not something that we're able to afford or have access to. I think another aspect of this that has really become clear to us over the past few weeks is that when we think about rent, we're also talking about venues, right? We're also talking about spaces in which music community is built, in which people find their voices, in which people have safety. And so the fact that rent hasn't been canceled and, you know, in addition to musicians trying to figure out how they're going to pay for their rent, we're now seeing incredible venues that have prioritized artists on the margins, right? Folks who would never have had a chance to perform to audiences that look like them or think like them in any other context. Those are shuttering as well. So it's really, really important when we're thinking about kind of workspaces and work environments that we're thinking about the work environments that musicians and music sound workers also work in. I mean, I'm thinking about sound engineers who are also in danger of seeing their work dry up because they're not able to be able to afford their studio spaces. So it affects all of us in so many different ways. And in terms of the second part of the question, I forgot. Could you repeat it?
Yes, definitely. The second part of the question was musicians represent so many different groups in themselves. How are you all going to work with all the different identities and groups that musicians represent? That's a big question. If you want to kick it to Joey, whatever, that's a big one.
Yeah, I'll touch on it a little bit and then I'll kick some of it to Joey. But I think that's something we're figuring out right now. And part of what Karna alluded to was that we want to have a system where it's transparent, right? Where we're having these discussions out loud. I mean, this is an out loud conversation. We all have our priorities. We all have the groups that we come from and are invested in. And so by being in the room or in the Zoom, we can like have these conversations about who should be here and who's missing. So I think that it starts by kind of showing up, by us reaching out to those who may have been let down in the past by organizing efforts, to those who might not feel like their voice would have been heard elsewhere, and from there kind of building a bigger community discussion. And then we all can make a choice about who we want to prioritize. And the other thing is that with so many of us working on the ground, I think we can prioritize everybody. Like there's all of these committees that are in place to do work on specific issues. So it's not like one person shouldering the whole entire weight of the music industry. We can split up, we can, you know, pass it along. And I think that's part of the beauty of collective action, is that when somebody gets tired or has a question, there's always somebody else there to kind of help them. So with that, I will pass the baton to Joey.
Thank you so much, Anongo. And I would like to let everyone know that the first presentation that Anongo Samus did is on YouTube. The YouTube is back up. We will also continue our bootleg version of the YouTube stream here on Instagram, just to make it less confusing. And a lot of you have already joined us here. So you could go here or on YouTube. We already crashed YouTube once because we want to own that means of production, of streaming production as musicians and allied workers. So up next is Joey. Joey, you can continue on the question of musicians and how musicians represent so many different groups of people. How does UMAW envision bringing people together and remembering that? And then also we had a question related to, the CARES Act is really important for musicians. Why did UMAW decide to get involved? And are there local CARES Acts that we should know about?
Yeah, so to the first point, I think Anongo covered most of everything there. I mean, yeah, you can just read our demands and see how we're seeking to be very intentionally making these connections with other groups of workers and see ourselves as this broader working class struggle. So, I mean, we have some of that is specifically related to arts workers, increasing arts funding. But things like increasing unemployment insurance for the rest of the year, that affects all self-employed workers. So if you're an Uber driver, if you're like an educator that's on 1099 income, so many sectors are working on this. So that applies to so many people. Medicare for all, right? That affects so many musicians, but it affects millions of Americans, whether you're in the arts or not. There's a demand specifically in there about the post office, right? Like, of course, as musicians, we use the post office a lot, and that's a big part of how we ship things and get our music out there. But there's also, of course, so many postal workers. It's such an important union job for so many Americans, and it's important in that respect. Talked a bit, so forgot a little bit the specifics of the other question, but I believe it's about COVID, how this is specifically affecting musicians. If you are a musician, you probably know already. You can go on our Twitter Today feed and check out all of the videos that people posted about why they're making these calls, right? If you're a musician, you immediately lost all of your income. You can look up at the statistics. Most musicians make most of their money by performing, by touring, by playing festivals, especially in the age of streaming. Okay, almost all of our income's from performing, so that was immediately cut out of the picture when this all started to come around. March, I think most of us can remember when we got that first email saying our gigs were canceled, and it's just going to keep on going. Even when we start to reopen certain parts of the economy, music is going to be one of the last ones to reopen, right? Because having big concerts, big festivals is going to be a very difficult thing to do. So COVID is really targeted, I think, disrupting musicians' livelihoods right now. So it's really important to us as music workers to be organizing, to make sure we get these benefits, to be able to continue making music and to survive this on the other end of it, but also to, you know, better this system during this crisis, better how streaming services operate to make sure we can get more money, bettering how benefits are being distributed by the government. Okay, this is not some like extra bonus thing that we're asking for as musicians to get unemployment benefits, right? We work, we do work, you know, we pay into these systems. We should get these benefits just like everyone in this country deserves these benefits, regardless of the kind of work they do or what kind of immigration status they are, etc. So yeah, if people want to talk more about how COVID is affecting musicians, happy to do that. But obviously, it's very specifically hurting us as workers, just as it's hurting all working people. And the more precarious you were before this crisis, the more precarious you are during this crisis.
Great. We also have one last question. I don't know if Joey or if you want to kick it over to someone else, that's fine too. Someone just asked, we may have already covered this, but are we coordinating with AFM at all? And if you can explain who AFM is, that'd be great.
If anyone else wants to talk about this in the, would you like to talk about it, Evan?
Me?
Sure. I mean, really quick, I'll say I was a longtime member of AFM for many, many years when I toured full time. And what I'll say is I think we are excited to work with any and all organizations that are out there advocating for musicians and for independent artists and for creators and for workers, generally speaking. And so we've definitely reached out to many of the existing organizations that advocate for musicians. And I think the fact that we exist is also a testament to the fact that we also need some new structure and some new creativity and some new energy and lifeblood in this movement to organize for musicians. So I think, that's sort of what we have to say about that. We're excited to work with everyone. We believe in solidarity. We believe in collective action. So we're not forming this union because to crap on or undermine other existing organizations. We're doing this because we believe in the power that happens when musicians come together. And there's nothing more feeble than the feeble strength of one, as they say. So I think this is about us coming together, and we're excited to work with AFM and anyone else as long as they are fighting for especially independent musicians and not just those who are members of symphonies or kind of existing structures that have, frequently in the past prioritized the most privileged members of the music community. So I think, one thing that's uniting the folks here is that we're looking to fight for the members of our community, of our music community, that have been frequently and systematically left behind, silenced, or otherwise undermined by existing organizations. So is that a reasonable response on that? Happy to say more. But
that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, you all, for your questions. You can continue to ask questions in the comment boxes or in the live chat boxes. We have UMAW steering committee members all over. So, continue to ask questions, hit us up on our channels. I would like to reintroduce Evan Greer and Jose Arias, who are going to give us our call to action. And then we have some amazing performances by Izzy True and Susie Analog.
Cool. I guess I was already talking, so I can keep blabbing. So quickly, I'll just say, I'm lucky enough actually to have a full-time job that is not music, although, lucky, I guess is a funny way to say that. But, I work for a digital rights organization. And so we focus a lot on things like driving calls to Congress. And I can just say that I'm so inspired by what these musicians accomplished today. We drove nearly 400 phone calls to lawmakers today, and those were driven specifically to the exact members of Congress who are making this decision right now. So that's Nancy Pelosi, that's Chuck Schumer, and that's the leadership of the Congressional Arts Caucus. And so that really makes a difference. Those 400 phone calls really are going to get noticed. And what I can say is, look, I'm someone that doesn't have a tremendous.
Hey, how's it going?
Uh-oh, I think we maybe have someone who's not muted or some some noise. But anyhow,
back. Oh, I am not.
All right, it's all good. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna push through this. So quickly, what I was gonna say is, I'm not someone that has a ton of faith in representative democracy as it's done in the United States, and I'm very aware of just how broken this system is. But I will say that I've learned again and again that anything is possible if we fight for it. And one of the things you'll always hear from people in power is like, oh, that's out of reach. That's too radical. That's too crazy. Like, you're never going to get it. So like, don't even bother asking. Don't bother making the phone call. Don't bother sending the email. And really what I've seen time and time again is that what is possible is defined by how hard we organize and by how much pressure we put on politicians. And politicians will always do whatever they think is in their best interest, no matter what. And so it's up to us to make them feel like it is in their best interest to cave to our demands. And that's why it really matters when you make that phone call. It only takes a couple minutes. It's really easy. If you call the number that is right here next to me, like Vanna White, 813-213-3989, you will hear the lovely voice of Sadie Dupuis. She will walk you through exactly what you need to say, and she will connect you directly to the exact right members of Congress who are making this decision. And they're expected to vote as soon as tomorrow afternoon. So there's really just hours left to make those phone calls. Most Senate offices and congressional offices are not picking up their phones right now, but they are checking their voicemail messages. So if we can fill up those voicemail boxes overnight and tomorrow morning, that really will make a difference. And I can tell you, I've heard again and again from congressional staffers that nothing impacts them more than those individual phone calls from constituents and from concerned people. So I know it's not as fun as like smashing a window or going to a protest, but it really does make a difference. So call 813-213-3989 and tell those members of Congress to listen to the demands of the Union of Musicians and Allied Workers to extend unemployment benefits to the end of the year, and just to do everything that they can to make sure that there's relief in this next COVID-19 spending package for all of the independent musicians who are out there living tour to tour and gig to gig. Because capitalism has taught us over and over again that musicians are supposed to compete with each other. We're here saying, fuck that. We're gonna instead come together and fight for each other and fight for a music community that upholds all of our voices and where everyone can be heard and taken care of. So that's what I got to say. 813-213-3989. And I think we have some more folks that are gonna give more shout outs after me. That's what I got.
Anybody in? Oh,
I think maybe Josie is gonna speak next.
Next up, we have Josie, who's
Josie.
going to give us another rally call, and also in English and in Spanish. And then after that, we have some amazing performances from Izzy True and from Susie Analog. There is a second YouTube link that will have a better stream. One of our members will be putting that in the bio. So you're totally welcome to stay on this bootleg version of our green room, or you can click on that bio link and it'll get you a higher quality link. Earlier, we crashed YouTube because they know that we went their means of production. So I think that they took us down, but we're back up. So Josie, you have the floor.
Josie, unmute yourself. We want to hear you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Josie. I'm from Argentina. I've been living in this country for 2 years and a half. Oh, what is this? Okay, I don't know. Let me see. I think like all the speakers in this room were so inspiring. I don't know what else can I add. But I think maybe I can say maybe some words in Spanish. Also, like talking about like what the union it is in Spanish. Also, maybe I'm gonna repeat this, but I wanna say again that we are gonna fight for the rights of the people that they are not citizen, no matter the immigration status it is. Actually, I am an immigrant. So it's so hard for me speaking in English in public. So I don't know. I'm so excited about being part of this union. I think like this is a very tough moment for everybody, but it is also a good moment to us to organize each other, to think about how do we want to organize each other in the future, how do we imagine the future in music, the future in general, but the music industry future. So of course, like we have an emergency right now about the COVID, but I don't know, I'm super excited about creating this space, this place for us, for the discussion and for the actions. So I want to say for the people that is listening that we are here also like for the people that they don't speak English, like we can I mean, for whatever person that they don't speak English, they can contacting us in Spanish, and we are gonna be here to reply. And I don't know what else should I say. Maybe I'm gonna say some words in Spanish. Bueno. Quiero decir que este sindicato también está acá para responder todas las demandas de la gente que no habla inglés y que habla español, y que si quieren contactarnos y no hablas inglés, podés también contactarnos en español y vamos a estar acá para contestarte. También vamos a tener, we are also going to have all the information of the website and everything in Spanish. So we are going to be making the website. Vamos a hacer el website y toda la información de todas las acciones que vamos a hacer va a estar también en español. Bueno, I don't know what else. Ahora creo, I think now Easy True is gonna play some songs.
Thank you, Josie. Gracias a Josie.
De nada.
Thank you, Josie. Are you ready for me?
Sí.
Can you hear me? That was great, Josie. Let's do a little sound check. Can you hear me? Yes. Am I getting any thumbs up? Looking for thumbs up. Thumbs up. Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. It's me, Izzy, again. I've come back from the fugue state that I was in when I was trying to talk about the fund. I don't know what happened to me. The YouTube going out really, it put me in a different place psychologically. I was like, anyway, it's powerful. They're afraid of us. My name's Izzy True. I live in Chicago. I'm a member of UMAW. I'm gonna play some music for you. I'm gonna play a Hank Williams song. All day I face the barren waste without the taste of water. Cool water. All down and out with throats burn dry and souls they cry for water. Cool, clear water. Nights are cool and I am a fool. Each star's a pool of water. Cool, clear water. And with the dawn, I'll waken young and care. Cool water, clean water, water. Shadows sway, seem to say tonight we water. Cool water. And way up there, easy right and shows really water. Damn, don't you listen to them, damn. He's the devil, not a man. He spreads the burning sand with see that, can't you see that big green tree where the water's running free and it's waiting there for you and me? Yeah, water. Water, clean water. Dad's feet are sore, he's yearning for just one thing. Cool water, clear water. Like me, I guess he'd like to rest Thank you. Just gonna play one or two more songs, and then Susie Analog is gonna play. Very excited for that. Thank you all for being here and listening and bearing with us through all the kinds of sabotage we've come to expect. Internet terrorism, trying to keep it so musicians can't get paid and stuff. This one goes out there. That doesn't really have anything to do with this particularly, but this song goes out to anybody out there who is currently struggling with the Office of Unemployment. Just spent a long time on the phone with them yesterday, figured out how to send a fax to them and not getting benefits. So this one's for you. It's called Mr. Romance. Try to get that far. Once did I go for? It's just the way they are. That's just the way they are. That's just the way they are. Drive my car every driving star. I can be a driving star. That's just the way things are. Tie my shoes, so true, or do let's get terribly hard to that might get terribly hard for you. I went to the bar, take my call, every time. Well, it's better for you to take my call. Now, at this point, I want you to imagine you're in a crowded bar. 2 years from now, 3 years from now, the crowd is thick. They're sweating, they're undulating, but not in a way you find unpleasant or disturbing. And you can see the band, and right now the band is playing. And they're playing all the other instruments in the song, and you're going crazy, okay? So imagine all the other instruments playing in the song during the breakdown. Here we go. There's the drums. So they sound like, it sounds really good though. And then the bass is like, and so that's what you got to picture. And then it comes in with the chorus, the verse, which is so many days, need a new name for myself. Mr. Romance, well, they call me Mr. Romance. Now to Mr. Chance. So very Mr. Romance. Okay, that's the end of that one. A mental experiment. Using the power of your imaginations here in the quarantine, very important, crucial. Do I have time for one more? Or do we want to, or we can switch over to Susie? I am fine with whatever. I will not be offended. I wanna keep it rolling. I know we had some technical issues. I'm just waiting in the chat. Okay, quickie. All right, I'll do a quick one. Okay, this is a song off of the album we would be trying to release right now, but oops. The world is different. Okay. Good lightning, magic signs, and lots of strong feelings. There's lots of crying, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was fine. There was a party. Why a celebrity? I am excited. They are close to me. And they were beautiful. They were beautiful. I got to see. I want the one that hits me right now. I want the one that hits me right now. I want the one that hits me right now. For a month, out on a date, in a car, across the United States. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was okay. I want the one that hits me right now. I want the one that hits me right now. I want the one that hits me right now. Thanks, is it true? Call Congress and Susie Analog is up next. Gonna finish it out for us. It's gonna be great. Stick around. Call Congress. It's all I got.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Susie.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, I missed all of you people IRL. So I'm here in my analog world. My phone's going off, so just ignore that. Hey, yeah. I'm still hearing you on my phone. I'm going to just play. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna just play some tunes to maybe get us moving. I was on tour when this whole thing started. I was in London and I was supposed to play in Europe, a festival in Brussels. I'd never been to Brussels. I was supposed to be traveling really until now. And so it's really been challenging and difficult to just know what's next, you know, during this whole pandemic. And, you know, I just really feel like really it's the creative and the music community that has really been keeping me going, giving me a reason to wear neon at night still in my house, in my studio. So I really appreciate everyone. And I'm really looking forward to just being active and trying to envision and work towards a better future for musicians in this country. Specifically, I just feel like there's not a lot. I've been saying this for years, even when I was touring, there's just not a lot of support for us. Everything is privatized. And so we need more public support and to work, you know, with the government if we need to, or just be able to have funding, and all the fundraising that's going on has been amazing. So I just want everyone to stay motivated and just know that we're working towards a future where artists feel more protected, feel like we can grow and actually create art and not feel like we're cheating. You know, not feel like we're cheating some system, that we're a part of some beautiful system that inspires people. So with that being said, I'm gonna play some songs and I think we're gonna switch up the view. And yeah, thanks to everyone who's been a part of today. We got this together quick and in a hurry, and so that's never easy. So just thanks to everyone who's here still tuning in. And turn your camera on and dance with me. That's what I'm asking. I'm gonna play some jams. I'm gonna share my screen if anyone will be looking at it, Ableton's screen. But yeah, let me do that. And here I am. Okay. Somebody give me a thumbs up. They're ready for some tunes.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah, okay. I'm muting myself and enjoy. And after this, I hope everyone has a great night.
up. If you wanna flow, pick it up, pick it up. If you wanna flow, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. If you wanna flow, pick it up, pick it up. If you wanna flow, pick it up, pick it up. If you wanna flow, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. If you wanna flow, pick it up, pick it up. If you wanna flow, pick it up, pick it up. If you wanna flow, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. If you wanna flow, pick it up, pick it up. If you wanna flow, pick it up, pick it up. If you wanna flow, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Nobody do it. Wanna flow, senta na pica. Pick it up. Wanna flow, senta na pica. Pick it up. Wanna flow, senta na pica. Pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up. Wanna flow, senta na pica. 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 Nobody do it. Desce, sobe, senta na pica, no baile do Elipa. Desce, sobe, senta na pica, no baile do Elipa.
Se aqui no baile, o bonde veio assim, taradão e bolado pra tacar o piru aí. Vou te pegar a voz, vai pro buceta, vou explodir teu cozinho. Vou te pegar a voz, vai pro buceta, vou explodir teu negócio todinho. Vou te pegar a voz, vai pro buceta, vou explodir teu cozinho. Vou te pegar a voz, vai pro buceta, vou explodir teu negócio todinho.
Vem de quatro, 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 vem de
Okay, remember what I told you. Be your own boss. Love yourself. Get up and dance. Level up, 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 level up,
Incredible!
That's so good.
You're in the club, never in my presence.
Wow.
Thank you all. Hope you feel motivated, feel like doing something, heart rate's up.
Yeah, take it on. Thank you so much, Susie. What a treat. It sounded perfect.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad.
Awesome. Cool. End of our thing, everybody. Wow, we really did it.
Night, everyone. Keep calling the hotline.
Yeah.
Night, guys. Bye.
Calling.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.